Lot of good memories there.
Yes, indeed. How are you?
It's 4:30, let's stand for the pledge.
Oh, that's right.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
June 28th, 2020.
First thing, approval of minutes on May 24th. Council. We consider on a change of review. Is there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as given to us.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So first on the agenda here is the vote resolution. It's Amy Kidbrook.
Good afternoon.
Clerk.
I am here to ask you to sign a resolution to make DuBois County a vote center county. What that means is any voter may vote at any location. There has been a committee that met 3 times and a lot of discussion over locations, and we narrowed it down to 9 locations are the ones that the committee believes are the right ones for our county. Previously to this plan, we voted at 10 locations. So what's the change? The change is in Jasper. Previously, we voted at the Havoc Center. We moved to the Havoc Center last year because the COVID testing site was the Armory. And then we have voted at the Arts Center out at BUJC campus. And as we, the Vote Center Committee, looked at the numbers of who turns out and when they turn out and just all the different parameters, I mean, lots and lots of data went into it. Those were the 2 spots that we felt like had the lowest amount on election day. And we felt like we could combine those 2 locations into one, and that new location to replace that would be the Cultural Center here in Jasper. It's really a good fit for voting. We can put more machines. So we'll take 2 locations and merge them into one. We'll have more machines at that one location. I think that'll turn out to be our biggest voting location if we are able to make this change. But I think that the voters in Jasper who are the most impacted by that change, I think that it'll be a good change. I think that it'll be okay. It's still pretty centrally located. So that's really the biggest change that is in the plan that I sent you 2 weeks ago to review. Now, fast forward a little bit since I sent you that plan, and I went with Brent Winholt, who is our ADA compliant person for the county. And we went to every location last Thursday, and we found one problem. St. Henry, we vote at early the week before. We have a roaming board, and that Monday before we vote at the St. Henry Fire Station. It is not ADA compliant. However, a good fix is right across the road is the St. Henry CK of A. That will pass ADA compliance. The fire station, going into the door is about a 5-inch step. And there's not enough concrete outside of the door to put a ramp and then have the right clearance to get in that doorway. So it just will not work as a location. But again, right across the street is the CKVA that will work. So that's not in the plan that I previously sent you 2 weeks ago. With that, the committee has to meet again. The election board has to discuss that to update our plan. That doesn't affect the resolution that I'm asking you to sign today. So I went to the commissioners last week and they signed a resolution. To become a vote center, we have to have the commissioners and the council sign off on a resolution that says you support our county being a vote center. The ADA compliant has to be signed off by the election board. Once those 3 things happen, we have to have our firm plan set, and we have to have a public meeting. So we'll set that public meeting after we have our next election board and committee meeting to discuss if this other change for St. Henry can be put in there. And then we'll have a public meeting, we release the plan, for 30 days, and we get feedback from the county. So every voter can give feedback. And then the election board has to have another meeting to discuss that feedback. And then if they so choose, they can take action on the vote center plan itself. They have to vote unanimously to pass it after that 30 days and after they discuss that feedback. That feedback comes in and they say, hey, we need to make a change to the plan. They can make a plan change, and then they can take action on it after they make that change. But that's kind of how it gets laid out. I guess my question for you is, do you have any questions on what I sent you, or what I just kind of told you the changes could be to what I sent?
No, just all the people at the buildings and the locations, they're good with us staying there
Yes,
and going there.
yes.
The cultural center and
We are tentatively on everyone's books for next year when we want to vote there. The one other thing that we will discuss at our next election board meeting when we discuss St. Henry is Ferdinand. So when we become a vote center county, you must vote the 2 Saturdays before the election at an election day site. So, as an example, in Ferdinand today, we vote at the event center on election day. But for early voting, we vote at the library. That wouldn't count for one. We could still do that, but that wouldn't count for one of our election day sites on 1 or 2 of those Saturdays beforehand. When we were doing ADA compliance, Mike Steffi happened to be around, and he said, come on over and look at the Y. So we went over and looked at the Y, and the Y is a great fit for voting, and it's a great fit for the 2 Saturdays before, and it's no charge. There's some benefits to vote to shifting from the event center to the YMCA. So that has to be discussed by the election or the vote center committee and the election board to see if we want to put that in our plan. From an election administrator standpoint, voting at 1 location rather than 2 makes it a little more simpler on planning purposes. Event center is to ask a Saturday of an event center in May and October it's pretty hefty ask. A Tuesday is not quite so demanding on their schedule, but Saturdays before the election, it's a tough one to get. Huntingburg has already got us locked in for next year for both Saturdays before the primary and both Saturdays for the fall, which is a great fit. I think it's a great place. People like to vote there, and it works really well in Huntingburg. I would like to find one place in Ferdinand. We could choose another election day site, and we could vote that on a Saturday to fit the criteria of what the IC code is. But really, it makes sense that we're in Ferdinand and we're in Huntingburg, and we're already open in Jasper. Like, it just makes sense where most voters are at or could be moving around at, that we would be in those locations. So some tweaks to the plan I sent you, but that is it's pretty solid otherwise.
Amy, on St. Henry, then the CKMA, good internet?
It's good for a good hotspot.
Okay.
So the roaming board takes a hotspot anyway. We don't typically get very many places that have internet connection. We use Du Bois Library, we've used their internet, and we've used a hotspot. But otherwise, it's fire stations the rest of the week for roaming board, so we would be sending a hotspot with them anyway. Since they don't have hotspot or internet, we would take that hotspot. It would be fine to get the reception we need in that building.
So what happens if, so right now you're talking 9, what happens down the road where you want to do a 7 and do we have a say in that, or?
So yes and no. So no, we don't have to, the election board doesn't have to come back to the county council and ask for permission. You're signing a resolution that you support. If you would sign it today, you're saying you support vote center plan. You're not saying, you don't get to say specifically what locations or how many. However, if the election board would choose to make a change to the plan, it has to be voted unanimously by that election board, and it has to be discussed. It has to be put out there for 30 days, and the public has a chance to review it. So election board meetings are public. We advertise what we're going to discuss. You would have a chance to come to an election board meeting. You could reach out to any of the members of the election board with opinions if a change would be made. It is been strongly discussed. Whatever plan we put together is the plan we stick with. We do not want to, it would be my opinion and the election board's opinion that we don't want to change it. We want to pick what's the right plan and stick with it. There were many counties last year in the state that changed their vote center plan simply because of a pandemic. Some decreased their sites because they couldn't find poll workers, and others increased their sites because the number of sites that they were voting at based on spreading voters out. So there was a reason for changes. There could be reasons in the future for changes, but it would be my opinion that it's not desired to do that. We want to find a plan that works for us and then just stick with it. And then we just communicate it really well to the public. You know, what has changed and what, you know, why is it convenient for you if that's what you want? Or if you don't want any changes, there are some in Jasper that could be affected or a location change, but nothing I think that would be unsettling to any voter. I did get a couple calls last week after I came to the commissioners meeting and discussed it. And after you kind of talk through what's happening, then voters are okay with it, I think. That's my opinion. There could be a future clerk that has a different opinion, but as a clerk, the interactions I have with other clerks throughout the state, it's not a desire to cause a ruckus, and we as clerks want the election to go as smoothly as possible. There's a lot of moving parts to an election. The planning and the executing of it, we want it to go as smoothly as possible and correctly. Without a doubt, it has to go correctly, but we're not looking to make major changes.
The only question I have is whenever, you know, let's say someone registers to vote, and in the past you get a card that tells you like where your voting place is. I mean, do they still get that card, or does it?
Yeah, because that's confirmation that we've registered you to vote. And
Do they still have one? I guess what I'm asking is, are you still like recommending that they're like assigned to a specific polling place, or is it just gonna say you can vote any of these places on election day?
it will say that you may vote at any of these locations. Any voter may vote anywhere, and that's really, change is hard. It's hard to grasp that concept. We have two gals in the office that really, you know, when we talked about, we'll change from the Hobby Center and the Arts Center down to the Cultural Center. One of the girls said, well, you're gonna send everybody a postcard and say you have to go to the Cultural Center. I said, no, I want every voter to know you can go anywhere. I'm not gonna tell you, you used to vote at the Hobby Center and now you must go to the Cultural Center. I want you to know that you used to go to the Hobby Center and now you may go anywhere. We have 9 open sites on election day, and we have, I think it's 12 sites before election day. You may vote at any location that you want to vote at.
So will you do some sort of like mail postcard to every voter, or is it just gonna be public?
No, that's we have 31,000 registered voters. We're not sending a postcard to every registered voter. I looked at sending one to per household to cut down on the cost. The postage cost is what it comes down to. And really, I feel like we'll do enough PR. Our media partners are eager to get the information out to the voters. We have great relationships with those media. We will, I will go back to every town and county and city council meeting and explain this is the once we get to the end and we have a firm plan that's been voted on, if we get that far and we pass it, then I'll go back and say, here's what's going on. So those elected officials in those communities can then have the information and pass it on down to voters that they're closer to than what I am. It is a goal to go to every single voter and tell them. We have a flyer that's being worked on. One side is English, one side is Spanish. We have a local company that's designing that for us to give them the information of where to vote, but then it also has a few tidbits on who can vote and how do I register to vote and how do I find out who's on my ballot, just some basic information that every voter should be asking those questions. So we plan to get plenty of those printed and we can send them home through schools. We can put them on bulletin boards. We can get that flyer out better and more cost effective than we can to send postcards to everyone.
Amy Wedge is for nickels and dimes, so She really does.
I will preface, when we get ready for budget time, you may not feel that. But I will explain all of that too when the time comes.
Any other questions from Randy? So we're here then tonight to approve the resolution number 2021-26, and it's the resolution for the council to approve Du Bois County as a designation as a vote center county. So I don't know, but I think you had sent that, or it's similar to what the,
I sent them all to you guys last week.
yeah. So,
We'll start down here, or you
Yeah, I mean,
or you want to take a
yeah,
vote
yeah.
or go first?
Yes,
Sorry.
I have a motion to approve that resolution.
So moved.
Charmaine made a motion to approve it,
I'll second.
and Doug has seconded, so all in favor of the resolution approval, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So it
Thank you.
passes. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
I'll be back once it's done and communicate.
Thanks for the good work on it and the explanation.
Thanks. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot of data to really evaluate and discuss, but I think we did a very good job of discussing all the parts that could affect voters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just give me a copy.
I will.
Next on the agenda, Whitney,
Hello, everyone.
come up and introduce yourself. For the-
Of course. I'm Whitney Lubers with Du Bois County Tourism and Visit Du Bois
I
County.
don't need it.
And I think you guys kind of reached out to myself, just kind of wanted an update on the innkeepers policy and how it went from local collection, and then you guys were taking and moving it at state level, and it's local now. And I know Kitty's here too, of course. So I want to just kind of go over how that process is going. We created a PDF form so that the calculations would maintain correct without any math having to be done. So they will put in their, start out with their tax ID, and then they'll autofill the rest. And then they put in their total revenue, say how much is deducted from that, and then it fills out the rest as well. So that user error is not as much of a possibility. There are still some people that's doing the wrong collection allowance, so we're still trying to kind of drum home that they need to do that correctly. But this way they can submit it digitally. However, we still are unable to do online payments. So that's just kind of where we're at. So it's where they can fill out their information, but the online payment option is not doable at this time. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that at all? Okay. So that's just where we're at with that. I did know that we had some mixed feelings, which we kind of knew we would, with the innkeepers. I know the Harvest Moon Suites, Bed and Breakfast and Suites, it's Inn and Suites. They was looking forward to state level because of the online payment option, as well as Wingfield West. They let me know that they were looking forward to that option as well. But then I also talked to Mary Clem with Days Inn and Mary Hampton Inn, as well as the Quality Inn, and they were happy to keep it the same. So there's going to be some mixed emotions with that. So I think if we can eventually figure out the online portion of it, I think then we would have everyone more so on board because the online is really convenient.
Is this something that you guys are creating, that online portion, or you guys are working on?
Well, I think Kitty was going to go to the different treasurers. Am I speaking correctly? And with that, see how they handle it, because we don't want any kind of processing fee. That's not something that the hoteliers would want to do, any kind of processing fee. So it can be credit card, so it would have to probably be a bank routing system. But it's still kind of to be determined to see what the possibilities are. So it's a little bit more than just getting an online payment option, because we don't want those processing fees.
And somebody coming in on time and everything, or are you seeing some people behind?
No, they are coming in time. We did, I think to make it a little bit easier, it did change from the county level collections. So it's based on what is comes in on the 21st and then 22nd, and then there's still some people that postmark, so there might be a delay in just the people for the mail, that we won't get that information a month later, but everyone's been on time since, I think we had one late payment, but they did pay, so, yeah. So, been pretty on time with payments.
It's the same hotels that, like, they'll drop it in the mailbox at like 10 o'clock on the due date. So it's still on time, but yeah,
So they're not charging a fee, but we don't get that information until later.
there's like 2 hotels that do that every month.
So you're consistently getting their money behind, so.
Correct.
Mhm.
We get the money on time to get the information.
You see that increasing, it seems like when you look in the parking lots, there's, a lot of places.
Oh, yes. So we have seen a huge increase in overnights, which is something we desperately needed. So 2020 obviously was a horrible year for tourism, for innkeepers' stays. I mean, people weren't staying in visitation. January, February, we had some really low months, some of March. And then our hoteliers are letting us know now they have the increase of demand, so they're having better months than they ever had right now. So that is a good thing. And then we also have a whole bunch of sports tournaments lined up this whole season. I know it was packed last weekend with a 3 up, 3 down. So the sports air section of tourism is doing tremendous. Golf courses, it's hard to get a tee time in September especially. It's really difficult for people to get tea time because it's so popular. I know July 22nd or 23rd through 25th, we have some room blocks out there, and every hotelier is going to be completely packed because there's 3 different sports tournaments going on. So we are getting that increase of demand coming back. I know we personally are getting a crazy amount of phone calls again, which we're very happy to see. And so I think tourism is picking back up with that increase of demand. So we're very happy to see that. We started out slow this year, but the increase is coming.
And with the Strauss and Fest and everything.
Yes, yeah. And then we also, with the Strassenfest specifically, we decided for tourism, we didn't want to touch our marketing dollars. So we had to, obviously 2020 we weren't kind of getting money in. So we had to decrease our overall budget significantly. We held off on hiring a third person. We're still only 2 people staff-wise because Kevin retired. So we were able to not having to let anyone go, but we forego on hiring someone. And then on top of that, we did keep our marketing dollars the same, but we readjusted meeting costs because when we were going to meetings, our car costs, different. We were able to really readjust and keep our dollars though for marketing the exact same, for grants. So we kind of made sure that those huge tourism accounts, we were keeping that money the same. So, yeah. Did anyone have any questions?
Are you gonna, between the treasurer, you gonna set a goal to have this online, try to get this online, or is that something that's gonna be?
Yeah, I might ask Kitty, what do you feel is doable with that?
Since it's you that's doing it, like, really.
For online, I would be doing that aspect. Okay, I thought you were researching the different options for me, because it still has to go through you, right, or
It
not?
has to come through us first.
But I thought you were gonna be the one like to head it up.
Okay, so I did not realize that part, because I thought you were going with the different treasurers and seeing what was possible. I can see what's possible too, so yeah.
Well, I will ask the other treasurers, and I put out an email to them.
Okay.
We have a meeting in August, so.
In August, you have that meeting, okay. So we still have to work on those details, but it would be nice to, I'll be working on that goal as well, and try to find a solution, so.
Oh, good, thanks. Sound good.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Just we're on our heads.
Don't say that.
Melissa,
Yeah? Okay,
if you could introduce yourself for the.
I will. So most of you know me, I think, but my name is Melissa Niehaus. I am the pretrial coordinator with DuBois County Community Corrections. Director Megan Gerloff was supposed to be here today as well, but she was unexpectedly able to come. So she trusts me enough to do this, so let's cross our fingers that I do it right. No pressure. So to give you a little bit of background, in January of 2020, the Du Bois County Pretrial Service Agency was formed under Du Bois County Community Corrections. And at that time, and even a year ago, whenever Megan and I came to talk to you, we were a one-person agency, and that was me. We now have another full-time pretrial services officer that we were able to hire last year with grant funding that we had received from the Indiana Office of Court Services. We applied for more grant funding this year, and we were granted funds to continue keeping Danielle Traylor in her position as pretrial service officer with an increase in pay, which I'll talk with you about in just a moment. And then we also received funding for another full-time pretrial services officer. So we're growing. We're going to be a team of 3, hopefully. So very exciting stuff is happening. In the past year and a half since we started, we have assessed over 615 individuals. And if anyone doesn't understand what that is, we do an assessment, a risk assessment, when people are arrested and before they are taken to court for their initial hearing. So we are able to make an estimation on that person's likelihood to complete their pretrial period successfully. So we've assessed over 615 people. We've also monitored or tracked over 600 of those people since then, keeping up on whether or not they're showing up for their court hearings, making sure that they're receiving text alerts, that they have not received any new charges or anything like that going on while their case is pending. In the year 2020, and actually up and through June, we did, I ran a report so that we could see what we call our safety rate and our attendance rate are. And this, I believe, was an information that Megan had forwarded you or sent you in an email. But that's how pretrial services is really kind of looked at on whether or not it's a successful program. So safety rate means that these individuals that we're looking at have not committed or not been charged with any new offenses while their case is pending. And we are at 89% for that. So I think that's an excellent number. And it's something that we don't really have anything to compare to, unfortunately, because we weren't tracking this information before. Our appearance rate is the number of people who have shown up for their court hearings. Basically, they have finished their pretrial period without having any failure to appear warrants. That was, I don't have the number in front of me because I lost the thing. 97%. 97%.
Wow.
So we're doing good things. I truly think that we're doing good things. So what I'm here for today, Sandy, help me with this, but I'm here to ask for you to appropriate the funding as Megan had presented to you guys in the email that she sent. And then to also ask that you approve of the salary increase for Danielle Traylor, who is our current pretrial services officer. She, when we applied for the grant that she was hired in under last year, we did not know that we were going to get an internal applicant, and we just went at a base salary, kind of like for a first-year person. But Danielle was already employed with Community Corrections and wanted to work with this program and see it grow. So she actually took a decrease in pay to take the position, even though she had the experience and the skills and the training that she had really already needed to do that. So we're just asking to be able to bring her up to the salary that the rest of the case managers were put at in January of this year. And we did receive funding from the Indiana Office of Court Services to cover that.
Would she have to do a salary?
Well, the thing with
increase or not, since it's, I don't
the thing with the pretrial services is their grant is gonna be from July to December.
Thank you.
So we've had to do an additional appropriation for July through December, and the commissioners did approve a new position, which is in this grant. So
Thank you.
we have the 2 officers making the same amount on the new 6-month grant at $1,649.10 biweekly. Both of them will get that. So the commissioners approved it because it's funded.
Yes.
But the grant says they have to appropriate it, so that's what we're doing tonight.
The Indiana Office of Court Services is going to a calendar year budget cycle. So
So I didn't know if they had to go through Markey to increase that pay of what it was to begin with, like all the other employees do, if they want a higher pay We usually have to go through that process that we've done. I don't know if that's needed for this or not, since,
I don't know.
I don't know either. That's reasonable, I'm not saying it's wrong.
I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
saying no, I'm just saying to justify that to all the other employees, yes. You know, she did take a pay decrease, but that's the process we set up. I don't know if it's needed or not now. I'm just asking the question, what everybody else thinks.
The only thing I would hate to see is grant funding go to waste that's been appropriated
Well, I'm not
to
saying,
keep them even with the other case managers, but it's
no,
not my
I'm
call.
saying that too. I'm not saying.
You're trying to
Prove it, I'm just saying,
that,
hey, put the paperwork.
let's
in
stay
there.
consistent with what we're doing.
Stay consistent with what we've been doing. I'm not saying that, no, I'm saying yes. That-
Well, she
I
just
think
needed
it
to do
should
the
be.
same steps as everyone else.
Exactly, it just needs to be through the same steps as the other people as far as, since it's a difference, a pay increase.
I see that.
And since the grant pays for everything, you guys show it pays for everything, I don't see why we wouldn't
Right.
say, you know,
So if the grant runs out, then what do we do, you know, at the end of the year, if it's not renewed, would that make a difference then? I don't know, I'm just asking.
It's gonna get renewed.
It's going to.
It's going to get renewed. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question. That would be something that I think that it would be able to speak for. I'm gonna be confident that it's gonna get renewed.
How many other counties have the type of services that you offer?
The last time I looked, that are going through the process to possibly become a certified agency, it was somewhere in the 30s, so I would say like a third of the counties. And that has been a little while, it's been several months since I looked that up, but the Supreme Court of Indiana put the rule in place in January of 2020 that assessments were to be completed on individuals who were arrested. I think a lot of counties are doing that. I'm not sure at this point how many of them are going through that process to become certified and where that stands for them.
Do they give you financial information on there as to what the average pay of your pay, I mean, of the 30 counties or?
Not that I've seen,
Okay.
not that I have seen. So I know that we were approved for exactly what we requested, salary wise and benefit wise.
I think that'd be interesting to know, because if, not that, because if we're too low, then, and they're paying every other counties, then we should, I would think, I mean, no, if that was me, I'd want more money as well, just like everybody else.
I do not know the answer to that. I'll look into that, but I don't know what it is.
And you're working with the sheriff's department?
Well, we are based at Community Corrections, but we go to the jail Monday through Friday, and we are actually, with the addition of a new person, we are hoping to be able to get in there earlier than we are now, so possibly even doing some on-call type work to where we can get in there and get those people assessed so that we know that we're making risk-based decisions rather than financial-based decisions for somebody to get out. So we work closely with the sheriff's department and the jail staff, and we work closely with the prosecutor's office, local defense counsel, and the judges. So.
So how would we move forward from here? What would we need to do? I mean, this grant starts pretty soon, doesn't it?
July
Starts
1st.
July 1.
So I mean, that's kind of the issue here. I mean,
So you have my hire, or is mine mine?
We actually, the application closed today, so they have through the end of the day today to apply, and then we're going to set interviews. But we received close to 10 applicants. I think it's like 7 or 8. I can't remember exactly which.
so I guess we're saying we have to make a
Well-
decision tonight if we want, if we want to do this, or otherwise we could lose the grant funds, right?
Well, we won't use them for another month.
It'll be a month until they can start.
So
I I think you're right, Doug, I'm not saying you're wrong. I think, but I'm not sure we'll have time to. I don't have to justify it.
Well, my justification is, you know, all the other case managers get paid this and this person's getting paid this. It's just not right. You know, my thought is, could we appropriate it and still ask her to fill out the paperwork if we wanna
Absolutely.
do the formality of it?
You absolutely could do that. I mean, that's the first step is appropriating the grant dollars. Then the second step is the salary ordinance, which you could always set it high. You just,
I think it's the right move. Just,
Because we just wait till we get that in and then get it done this week, it's fine. You don't have to worry about it at all.
are you familiar with what we're talking about?
I am familiar with what you're talking about, but I don't know the exact steps that we need to take.
Reach out to Mark.
Reach out to
Yeah.
Mark.
Reach out to Marky.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will
He
do
he
that.
has a form that you just fill out, it's just like 5 or 6 sections to fill
so
out.
the new one would be hired at the new rate. It's just the other one.
I text Megan and she said, she doesn't think it needs to go through Markey, it's to get her up to 2020 pay. And this was before the whole process started.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's where my mind was going to begin with. Ask her to do it.
Ask her to fill out the paperwork, you're saying?
Yeah, if we do. I mean, if you want to make her do that, then
Okay, so our first
I
step.
think it allows us to stay consistent. I'm sorry, I'm not getting the interruption.
No,
I think it allows us to stay consistent, even though we understand what we're doing here with this process. But I feel like we ask everybody else to do it, let's ask her to do it, even though we're gonna approve it. I mean, ideally, we're approving it. But I feel like let's do it the right way. Let's keep our integrity. That's what I think is important.
So it's the salary adjustment form. What, I mean,
yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Salary adjustment form is what I need to ask about. Okay. Do you have any other questions that I can answer about pretrial services or anything?
The people that are participating, how do they feel about it?
We have helped a lot of people, and really our job technically as officers of the court is to make sure that these people are complying with their court-ordered conditions. But what we have found that's happening is they come to our office and we're connecting them with so many different resources. And they're not required to take advantage of any of those things or to do any of those things. Some people, but it's on rare occasion and only when specifically ordered by the judge. But some people are ordered to seek an evaluation and obtain treatment if they have a severe issue or something. But other people are not, because this is their pretrial phase and they have not been found guilty of anything yet. But a lot of these people are coming to us and they're saying, okay, I'm here, I need help. And we have referred, we have a couple of people that are in inpatient treatment right now, which is awesome. We have about 10 in total who have said that they wanted to go, and we've made those connections. And all but 2 of those have gone to inpatient treatment. We've given out, since I started tracking the resources that we were giving out late last year, because I was like, we're really giving out a lot of information and we're like getting people on the right track. I want to keep track of this. And just since September to now, we've given out over 200 various resources, whether it's information on local transportation, if it's information on clothing, food banks, Division of Family Resources, things like that. But we've given out over 200 different things to people. We've assisted with transportation resources, actually giving people tickets that we have received money for. So we're doing a lot of really good things for them. And our participants, for the most part, they are fine coming to see us and they'll, we're helping them out. And they've said how helpful it is to have somebody kind of holding them accountable, checking in with them, asking how they're doing, because it's not just a check-in. It's not just, are you meeting all your requirements? Try to form a relationship with these people and a professional relationship and let them know that we care and that, we have their back and, want to make sure that they don't miss their hearings and that they're staying out of trouble. So
It's encouraging to get this with the work that Lena Hackett and that group, that group
Mhm.
of y'all are doing, I'm like that. It's to see all those pieces come together and,
Yeah, I feel like this is a point early on in the process that we can get people starting to take care of themselves better, even when they don't have to. And I think some people buy into that idea of help a little bit more when they're not forced to do it.
it's great.
So,
Hopefully we can get some people turned around before they reoffend.
right. And we know that it's never going to be 100% where every single person is complying exactly as they're supposed to. But one thing that I want to point out that we have found is in the data that I pulled the other day, out of that 85% with the safety rate, our highest number of people who committed an offense during their pretrial period were assessed to be high risk. Then in the middle, it was those that were assessed to be moderate risk, and our smallest number were those that were assessed to be low risk. So that, in a way, for me, kind of validated what we're doing as an assessment, because it's like our numbers are showing, that the people that were more likely to mess up actually, did it, and the people who were less likely have been pretty successful. So, yeah,
It's great.
Are those assessments state standardized or national? Or
it is a validated assessment. It comes from the University of Cincinnati. And it's part of the IRAS system of assessments that are done throughout criminal justice systems. So the IRAS is a set of assessments. So the pretrial tool is one tool of that, and then there's a community supervision tool that probation officers will use, community corrections, post-conviction case managers use it. There's a prison intake tool. There's a reentry tool for those that are coming out of prison. So it's that series of assessments that the state does the training on those, the state of Indiana does. But it's from the University of Cincinnati.
So through your grant then, have you had any audits of somebody from the state coming and
Not
checking on your
officially where they have done that. With part of applying for the grant, we have to either be a certified pretrial service agency or be in the process of becoming certified, and we are currently in the process. A lot of agencies around the state either put things on hold or on the back burner with everything that happened with COVID last year, because this just started in January 1st, 2020, when people were able to even start applying for certification. So we are in that process, and as part of that process, we will have people from the Indiana Office of Court Services coming in, and then they will do auditing and all that. But we have received the funding, I think, because we are working with them to try to become certified at this point.
So what does that process look like? How is it? I'm sure you're overwhelmed with this.
Well, I mean, just a little bit. We have been, our pretrial policy team has been working together to develop how we want pretrial services to look in DuBois County for quite a while. We started in October of 2019. We've had some differences in opinions, and that's okay, because that's how you make the best things come out of what you're doing. And so we've kind of tweaked things a little bit. We're wanting to make sure that we're doing what makes us know that we're doing what we're supposed to do with regard to the grant funding and hopefully becoming certified. But then also we want to make our stakeholders feel confident in the policies and procedures that we put in place. I was actually going to go ahead and submit my application for certification before I applied for this position, or applied for the grant. Then I decided to add requesting more people. So it's changing our policies, it's changing our procedures, because now that we're able to get a new person, we're going to do things differently. We're going to make it even better. So yeah, I have to submit a whole policy and procedure manual. This is what we do, this is how we do it, this is when. And so that's going to be different than what it would have looked like 2 months ago. So yeah, it's really exciting how far we've come, really.
Is there any other questions for Melissa? Okay,
Their,
otherwise we'll have to,
their entire grant is $67,445,
67,000.
$445.
We were
You can
gonna,
do the entire grant.
okay, we would, this
And
is
then
appropriation of this.
appropriate the money for the grant. Now, then I didn't have an amended salary ordinance, I just have the one from the grant. So on the back, just sign your names and we'll use this as our amendment, salary ordinance amendment.
Okay, we're ready. questions? Anyone want to make a motion to,
I move that we appropriate the $67,445.
so we got a motion to accept that transfer grant and,
I'll second.
Becky's gonna second it. Anyone, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So, sounds great.
Thank you very
Great.
much. I appreciate
Great
it.
job.
You did great. Make it out your proud.
Do you wanna do a motion for the salary ordinance then? Or is it all considered one?
Okay.
So.
And I can get that.
We normally do
Yes,
two, but
That's what I got from Marcus.
Awesome.
It's
Would that be for the same amount, then, right?
With that stuff, it's like pretty
The 67?
well, it would be $1,649.10 bi-weekly per person. That would be the max.
$16.49 what?
1,649.10 bi-weekly.
I need to send something else, but I think,
To give me an idea.
yeah, and I think there may be another person, I'm not sure. This
And then-
I'll make a motion to approve that salary ordinance, 1649.10 bi-weekly.
So we have a motion to approve that, in a second. Alex, second. All in,
She's from a different project.
Right. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
So, yeah, I made a motion to approve the salary ordinance of 1649.10 bi-weekly. And Alex second.
So,
Yeah.
so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So, appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Good job.
The only thing she still has that she doesn't even know about yet is, we talked about a scanner printer copier last time, and I did advertise it to come from QCAP. A couple of you had agreed for that, so it's $4,400 for their scanner printer copier that they need.
Can we approve that now?
Yep.
So she, while she's here, we're gonna approve it. So I think that was a discussion, so any questions on that? I'd like to have a motion then.
I'll make that motion now.
Okay. Got a motion to approve the $4,400, do I have a second?
One second.
Got a second, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sandy, it says transfer here. On the agenda, it says transfer.
Great.
Pre-trial grant budget appropriation.
I've had that too yet. I'm not, did I take him out of line?
Well, I just wanted to make sure we get it all.
Megan had asked for in their old grant, the one that's ending, to move money from public defender in the personal services to other services
Oh,
for $22,975.
Okay, repeat that amount, 22,000.
$22,975. I had a couple different things for you.
Moving from public defender to,
Contracted services. Instead of being on staff, it's contracted.
It's not new money, we're just moving around.
We're just moving it around.
I move that we approve that transfer of 22,975.
We have a motion to approve that, a second,
I'll second.
Becky seconded, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Transfer. So, I think that's all.
Got
I
everything?
think that's it.
I'm getting some extra steps in. You good?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
I appreciate it.
Okay, let me get this to you. Reduce it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're reducing this line item, you're reducing this line item.
Okay, next on the agenda here is our electronic media resolution number 2021-27. And I hope that everyone has had a chance to review that. Is there any questions or discussions that we want to have? think it's the way it's written to me, it's kind of self-explanatory.
Can you hit the high points just so that we're all on the same page on what the expectations are?
Okay, so it's, you know, by like, you know, we can have our meeting by electronic means. I think you can, go with your, the governing bodies that may participate by any means of communications. It allows all participants to sign, so we can simultaneously communicate. And, I think at that, you know, we have it on YouTube, so the way I thought we were gonna, are thinking about doing it, that you still have to call in since you can't really communicate through YouTube. Is that correct?
I think we'd also have to have it by Zoom so that you can interact.
Right. Well, I think this is almost identical, it's probably identical to the one we did for Indiana 15, where you have to be able to see the person, you can't just call in anymore, you have to have the, you know, be able to physically see the person.
So would we be set up for that?
Well, the commissioners have done Zooms with Greg here, so I'd have to learn how to do it. I mean, and get the overhead projector and all that. I mean, it's a process.
You know, 50, there's only on here, and I thought I could comment on that. 50% of the members have to be physically present, and each member cannot attend, you know, has to attend at least 50% of the meetings. And the other thing is you cannot miss 2 consecutive meetings in a row. And you have to attend one in between. A member may attend 2 consecutive meetings by electronic means, but must attend in person at least 1 meeting between the sets of meetings. And then there's exceptions, military service, death, that kind of thing. I don't know, I think that's kind of the highlights. You know, I think naturally, we want to discourage this. I mean, unless it's you know, it's something you just can't physically attend.
I just thought section 4 and 5 were interesting, you know, like if anyone is joining electronically, everyone has to be noted in the minutes how they were, you know, attending. And then in section 5,
Which during the pandemic, I did have to notice if you read them, it'll say you were there telephonically or if you were there in person, blah, blah, blah. And then we had a roll call vote because you had to vote, say how they voted.
Yeah, section 5, you're correct. I mean, no member of the council may participate by means of electronic communications in the meeting in which the council may take final action to adopt the budget, make a reduction in personnel, initiate a referendum, impose an increase or fee, impose or increase a penalty, exercise the council's power of eminent domain, or establish, impose raises or a new tax, or renew a tax. So those are we cannot take action if you're not here, or you cannot. I mean, we would still, if we had a still majority vote, we would still be able to make those moves, wouldn't we? Is that your interpretation? I mean, if somebody's, be saying somebody's sick,
Yeah, it just says no member may participate.
Yeah. They can't participate, but we can still make the action.
section 2C, if anyone is here electronically, we have to do all votes by roll call.
And I think we did that at 1 or 2 times, I thought here. So it seems like this is a pretty standard, you know, I think the commissioners,
The commissioners passed it the other day.
approved it, so it's resolution, 2127. So is there any other discussion on this? Otherwise, I'll accept the motion to approve resolution 2021, electronic means of communication, -27, I'm sorry, 2021-27.
I'll make that motion.
Craig has made the motion, may I have a second?
I'll second.
So all in favor, we have a first and second, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so Resolution carries.
You do need to sign it, yes.
Okay, the next one, next on the agenda here is the recorder perpetuation fund.
Each year, the recorder, if she is going to let you use some money from the recorder's perpetuation fund, has to fill out an affidavit, which we have in the office. I don't have it along here with me. And then there's an ordinance that you guys can pass to say that we can use that money out of her fund for some of the budgeting.
That sounds like a pretty favorable deal. I mean, at least we can use, I mean, to me it does.
Well, I think the affidavit says that she's got excess money that she will not be using. And then you guys do the affidavit to say, yes, we will use it during the meeting.
Okay.
She has revenue held in such a fund that is in excess and is not going to be used. So the council approves the request of the recorder that we can use that money for the 2022 budget.
You know, never got to speak with her, but I mean, is that something that every year you could have access over?
And we've done it since, I have it as far back as 2014. Because we do use the recorder's perpetuation fund for the library, some of the librarian and some expenses in that office.
Okay, is there any discussion on that ordinance?
It's only good for 1 year, so the ordinance.
So hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve ordinance 2021-28, the using money for the perpetuation fund of the recorder, county recorder.
So moved.
So Charmaine made a motion approved, he second.
Second.
Alex seconded. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, next, we're ready. Next on the agenda, Judy. Solid Water, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Judy Brown, I'm the Director of the Soil and Water Conservation District, and I'm here with Rita Silverstein.
I'm SWCD chair.
And I had emailed you this information. This is regarding proposed changes to our budget. And I just, we wanted to come in and make sure that we have support for this before we actually submit the budget. Sandy, do you need a copy?
I don't know if I have one.
Just one second.
No, I have it.
Sandy, you can have this. I already got it, so I made a copy.
Okay, I have the.
Sorry.
There you go.
This information.
Okay.
I have this from the commissioner meeting, don't I?
Okay.
Once I saw it, I'm like, yeah, I have that over there.
So we had made several changes to our budget request, and we took it to the commissioners, and they have approved it. It wasn't unanimous, but we had 2-1 votes, so they did approve it. So we want to make sure that the council will approve it before we move forward. So the first major change that we made is that we are requesting to eliminate 2 part-time positions and replace them with a full-time position. Melissa Bouchard is our project manager for the Land Stewardship Initiative. She's doing a really good job, but we're finding that our workload has shifted to the point that we need Melissa to help with some of the customers and the resource management out in the county. We do have a part-time position, which in the past, we used that position to help our current resource specialist. We have advertised that position twice, have not been able to fill it. It's a part-time position with a lower salary, and for the qualifications and the credentials that we need, we just have not been able to find somebody qualified. So we thought that rather than try to hire somebody who wouldn't have those credentials, we know that Melissa does. So what we would like to do is eliminate the 2 part-time positions and use that funding to create a full-time position. Currently, our resource specialist is Justin Berry, and he has been working with the federal government on a grant. And he helps the federal employees to inspect the CRP practices that are on the ground in the county. So he's assisting county landowners with projects, but the federal government is paying the district, the Soil and Water Conservation District, so much money per contract. So last year, we actually received a check for $31,000 from the federal government. And when we get that money, what we do is we roll it back out to landowners. We have other grants, we use it as match funds, or we have other programs. So we roll that money back out to the county when the SWCD earns it. It doesn't actually go into any of the staff's pockets, but the staff helps to earn it. But what we discovered last year is that Justin had so much additional workload with this project, he needs help. And with our part-time position that we're unable to fill, we just kind of feel like we're wasting that money. We have that position, but we're not able to fill it, that money just goes back to the county, and then we're not getting the help we need. So that is why we thought, well, what we do is eliminate that part-time position and make Melissa full-time. So then she can spend part of her time doing what she does, and then the rest of the time helping Justin with this additional workload. So that is the major part of one of the things that we're shuffling on our proposal. So I have a sheet that kind of broke down the proposed adjustment. So what we are requesting for her, this position, this new position, is that it would be a PAC 3, and it would start at the lowest pay level, which is $20.76. So what we are requesting for that position is $37,783, and that would just be the salary that's in our budget. That doesn't include benefits. But it doesn't include the benefits. So that's what we were proposing. The amount that we would have requested in 2022, had this position, these two positions been part-time, is $34,146. So it's pretty close to that total amount. One of the things that Chad Lessinger had suggested was to make our part-time position, to fund it as much as we could. So moving that position up to the high end of the pay level, the pay scale, it would total $34,146 if you take Melissa's salary plus the other part-time position. So as again, when we presented this to the commissioners, we actually went to 2 of their meetings, and they did approve it at a vote of 2-1. So this is something that they do support. But before we proceed with our budget, we don't want to eliminate these 2 part-time positions without knowing the council's wishes and what you feel on this, because we don't want to accidentally leave funding off for Melissa. Because if you don't support the new full-time position, we'll need to have a part-time position in there for her. So we don't want to accidentally fire her is where I'm going.
The commissioners they created the position full-time. They did not eliminate the 2 part-times because they thought if you guys didn't approve it, they didn't want to catch in there. So they just kind of waited to see if they need to eliminate it. And they did approve this position out of PAC 3.
So are you proposing, this is for 2022?
Yes.
Correct, or this correct?
Right.
So no.
They just didn't want to fill out their budget.
Right.
And then you guys say, we don't want that. So.
And the other thing that we're doing, and I know that you probably haven't heard from Marky on this, but Justin's salary, we are requesting a pay bump for him as well, and that is reflected in here. Because he did work so hard last year, we felt like he went above and beyond. So we did submit the salary adjustment request form to Marky. I don't think he has to submit it to you until July 15th, but we do have that increase in the salary reflected in here. So on his salary, it's actually a bump of 9% versus the 3% that was recommended by the council. So,
Does the 9% include the 3%?
yes, it would be 9 total, yeah,
That's really an additional 6%,
yes,
roughly speaking.
yes.
Okay.
So that's reflected in there too.
We don't have staff that is qualified to be able to do these projects, then we're not gonna be able to bring additional funding into the county. So it is imperative that we have staff, and not only staff, but quality staff. And with the efforts made to try to fill that part-time position, the applications being received just didn't have the criteria needed to be able to effectively do the position.
We're requesting college degree and experience with, farming and even engineering to some extent, understanding, surveying and, somebody coming in off the street getting paid $9 an hour, they won't have that. So that's really hard for us to fill the position at the level that we need it, with it being part-time.
Melissa is very interested in assuming the full-time position from a part-time position, and she very much has demonstrated her capability, very qualified to be able to meet the needs that we do have for this part-time position, or this full-time position, going from part-time for her to full-time.
So what would her part-time hours and what would her full-time hours be?
It would be 35 hours a week.
And what was her part-time?
She works 28 or 29 hours a week, so it
So
essentially
only
would
6
add
hours.
I will adjust her duties though, so she's working maybe 60% at what she's doing now, and then the other 40% would be, assisting with the resource management, because she's already kind of branching out into that anyway. She likes to work with landowners, so this is actually playing to a strength of hers, to work with landowners.
So what would the additional benefits amount be with that? Because I'm sure
We
that
have health
part-time.
insurance.
Huh?
Health insurance,
Health insurance.
a little more if I feel a little more perf.
So how much?
I mean, she doesn't have perf now, so it'd be all perf,
So-
perf invited, included.
So we'd have to also include that as well.
We were discussing about 17 to 20,000 that costs,
Mhm.
roughly speaking.
I did not include the perf and the FICA.
Well, FICA, I mean, you already have 28, 29 hours of FICA, so that's already being matched. It's the difference and then the perf
That will be on
and the health insurance.
the perf would be on the commissioner's budget though, which is why I left it off of ours. So behind the scenes, I don't know what the health insurance is.
Judy, how did that work so well in the past, with the 2 part-time positions? Was it the qualified people you found?
Yes, what happened was Radius Wiseman, he had retired from the Farm Service Agency office, but he worked for us part-time. So he knew the county, he knew the practices. So since 2002, he was able to fill that part-time position and did a really good job for us, but he passed away last year. And right now, we're not able to find somebody, when the NRCS or FSA people retire, a lot of them, they don't want to come back to work. So we were just really lucky to have that caliber of a person who wanted to work part-time. So he did a good job. Bart Pitstick is working part-time in that position, but he is planning on moving this year, so.
And Bart has retired from the NRCS, so he also had the knowledge and the background of the programs, but he's actually leaving the area. His full retirement, I guess you can say.
Okay, I got a quick question. The NRCS, that's what Bart did. There was an interim person. Then there was Jordan, right? Was Jordan in that position?
No, we had, Bart, when he retired, he was our district conservationist for the NRCS, and what happened was, he was replaced by somebody named Nathan.
Yeah.
So Nathan was with us for only about 4 months, and then he received a job offer in Kentucky. So from there, we went to acting district conservationist, so we had an Arthur for a while. He acted for maybe a couple of months.
Yes, I remember Arthur.
Yeah.
He's really a great guy. We liked him. We wanted him to stay.
He's from northern Indiana and he wanted to stay. So we went back to the district conservationists from neighboring counties filled in until November. We had Taylor Gudlock.
That's right, I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah, so Taylor came
His
in.
name was Jordan.
He was with us for maybe 18 months and then he moved on in May.
And now you've got somebody new. I just saw on your Facebook
Yes,
page.
Emily Kelly.
Okay.
And she is local. She's great. We're really excited to have her with us. Yeah, so she's on board, hit the ground running. So she's doing well.
You have a job description for for this position then?
I do, I don't have it with me, but I do, and I can send that to you.
So the extra 6-7 hours a week that she would work, is that enough extra hours to help cover the duties that the 2 part-time would have been?
I think so. She'll still spend, maybe 20 hours, 25 hours a week working on her previous job, but then the other 10 to 15 hours a week, she'll be helping with the resource specialist load. And as I said, she's already kind of stepping into that. She wanted to work more with landowners, so she is doing site visits now anyway. So she's sort of stepping into that role.
So that was already kind of included in her previous hours?
Yes, yes.
I think actually this will make it more efficient. I think to have the one person fulfilling this rather than having the 2 part-time, I think will be more efficient in that way.
Just so I understand, when we're combining these 2 and then the extra increase, plus the benefits, we're looking at about 20 to 25,000 more for the 6 hours difference, combine the 2 part-time positions. If we look at the benefits and then the increase in pay on top of the 2 part-time positions. That's just a quick job of what I did.
Well, commissioners did quite a few creations of jobs today, last week.
I mean,
So, that seems to be pretty substantial to me for.
But if you know Melissa, they're lucky they ever had somebody as qualified as she was to work for the amount that she got paid.
Yes,
I can vouch for that because I worked with her, so.
yes, oh my gosh, she
I know.
is,
They got lucky.
she is really good. I just ran into her, Alex, out by your place, and she was talking to my dad, and we were just talking about soil health and this and that. I'm so excited that she'll be working more with landowners, because I feel like her personality will help get more people interested in conserving soil health, therefore water and all that.
She's passionate about it,
Yeah.
so excited about it.
She's very, very good.
Yeah, if we were not able to get the full-time position to go through, I would request a classification change for her, because she's a COMA 3 now. And with her credentials, I really think she fits better into the path. Professional, administrator, technical. So I would request that her position be bumped into different categories, so she would have a pay bump anyway. So that would happen I would make that request if we don't get her full time, just because I feel like her position is miscategorized as it is.
Absolutely. She definitely has a professional expertise and background to fill a path.
I just wanted to let everybody know the dollars and cents of it all, since we're the council, and that's what we're looking at, but.
About, I guess it's been a year ago, maybe it's 2 years ago, when we changed the administration thing from part-time to full-time. Are you able to keep that person busy? With COVID and.
Yeah. No problem. And in fact, when Melissa, when she shifts duties, I think the administrative person will assume some of the other duties that Melissa, because I wanted to do a 60-40 split. The rest of that work that she normally would have done is going to transfer to the administration person. Yes, she's busy all the time.
And the present administration person, and Judy can elaborate on this, I think brings with her a skill set that is going to allow her to also effectively do some of the things that Melissa used to do. So I think I'd say it'll be a good match for our administrative person.
We have
So else was duties.
Jessica Condra started with us in February. Patty Schrader retired, so Jessica started, and she is really good with spreadsheets, computer work, web pages. So everything comes really easy to her, and she just works very quickly. So I think she'll be an asset in where she can pick up and help Melissa with some of this other work once her duties change a little bit.
Melissa formerly was doing some of that, which probably wasn't necessarily her strong suit. And that frees her up to really be able to do what she's talented in, to do from a landowner perspective, and Jessica really brings that skill set in. So I think it's a win-win for everyone.
think if you guys make those, you know, with the administrative person coming on full-time and then this other position, if we approve it, I just think it's gonna kind of change the dynamic of how you guys do things. It's exciting.
Is there any other discussions or questions? Okay, so can we,
I think you just need a consensus for them to proceed. And then you'll adopt everything at budget time. Because this is all for the 2022 budget.
Well, I think we're just taking under advisement at this point. I mean, I don't know what voting.
but that's my question.
Yeah, I think we're taking under advisement based on, this is our first time in front of us. I mean, I've been watching the commission meetings. So I've seen it, but
I think what they wanna know is, do they need to write in part-time? You know, they wanna know from us, are we supportive of this so that they can put one full-time person in, or do they need to write into their budget? Still, at least one, if not two part-time people, it doesn't get approved in the 2022 budget.
We would almost have to submit 2 budgets. And,
And we can't do that.
planning and
It's which way should they write the budget, with one or with two?
Right, full-time or two part-time.
the other option is to put the full-time in, leave Melissa in the part-time, and then whichever one doesn't get approved, be stricken, I guess.
So are you definitely getting rid of the vacant position?
Yes, there's no
Next year.
reason, yeah.
But then you would also change Melissa's to a different classification, so that would be a different pay anyway. So depending on, that's why you're here, yeah.
Yeah, the commissioners already put it at PAT 3.
What was the reason for the dissension on the one? Was there a discussion on that?
I'm sorry, what was
Chad, Chad was the dissenting vote to create a
Was there reason
full-time.
for the dissension on?
Right, yeah, Chad was reluctant to add a new full-time position, knowing that the cost of the benefits was there as well.
Yeah.
So he made the suggestion to leave them as part-time positions, so he asked us to do 2 budgets, so we actually did a budget and an alternative, so.
I think we have to start realizing that we don't have an attraction for part-time without benefits. And they're bringing their expertise to these positions, and we gotta open up new doors.
And I do really feel if we have the quality people that can do the projects, that will help us to be able to fulfill the grant needs and requirements and ultimately bring money into the county. And it's all about projects and how many we can do in a year, so.
One other piece that I handed you was a sort of an assessment made by the State Department of Ag on our accomplishments from last year. This is the work that we accomplished, and if you look in the center, there was enough sediment from the conservation practices, enough sediment to fill 548 train cars. Nitrogen was reduced by 95,895 pounds, which is enough to fill 95 8-foot truck beds. And the phosphorus, enough to fill 47 8-foot truck beds. And the way they calculate that is they have load reductions. So when the practices go in, they look at how much sediment is saved by the conservation practices. So if you look down below, the calendar years is 2013 through 2020, and there's some fluctuation, but in 2013, when we have fewer staff members, 159 practices were installed, or in 2020, 301. Active practices, again, 159, down to 830 in 2020. So with us having the additional staff and the additional expertise, we are able to help the county landowners that much more. This wouldn't be possible if we didn't have the qualified staff out there assisting with the conservation workload. And the bottom line for us is the amount of sediment that we're reducing. So, I appreciate the fact that there is cost to adding a new person, but to us, we get excited by the conservation and what we are doing on the land.
And I guess since I I mean, Alex, you know more than what I do because you actually use these practices, but I mean, they have to come out. It's not just, oh, we signed a contract, we're done now. I mean, they have to go out and evaluate, make sure that they're doing it, several times a year. The more practices there are, that's the more man hours that have to be out on the road looking and inspecting and.
And there's certain specifications for these projects that are mandated, so, our staff has to ensure before any monies are paid out to landlords that they do meet these specifications.
The thing that excites me is our topsoil stays where it should. It doesn't end up in the Gulf of Mexico.
Right. And right now it's voluntary. If we don't get a handle on our erosion, it's going to become mandatory by the federal government that landowners have to do stuff. And we're trying to help them do it voluntarily before we have to have federal government mandating conservation.
I mean, I just love it. I just remember driving around as a kid, riding in the backseat, and you could just see gullies everywhere. And now, I mean, people have
It's really changed.
It's changed so much since I was a kid. It's exciting.
So, I guess you're saying as far as the budget goes, you're saying we don't have until next, I mean, if we bring this up in our next meeting in July 26th or whatever, would they still have time?
Well, their budgets are due, so we can start processing stuff this week. So they're wanting to know which way, and if they hand us two,
You can't process.
I can't put in two budgets for them, I can only put in one.
Okay, thanks. And then, Craig, do you feel you need more time, or do you feel you can make a decision tonight?
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't prepared to make a decision, to be honest with you. That's not to say it can't move forward without me, I understand.
So is it an option for us to turn it in and then if the council,
Well, what we could do is August 9th, you guys can make the final decision and we'll just have to adjust. But I mean, I just need to know which way to enter it in to the system. So we could enter everything in, like she said, we could enter the whole thing in with all three positions on it, and then you can just cut one if that's what you want to do. Have two part-time and a full-time in there, and then you cut whatever you don't want.
Any comments on that? I mean, do you want to try to do that, and then you got more time to think about it?
She wouldn't have to put all three in because they're taking that vacant technician specialist out no matter what. What I would probably say is, since we possibly can't come up with a decision tonight, put whatever Melissa's pay would be if it was just the part-time, and then have the other position, the full-time position. So that all we have to do is cut one. Right?
Makes sense.
If she stayed in as the,
If she stayed in as
Part-timer.
the project technician part-time, they're gonna change it to, or they're gonna request to change it to a different,
different path level, I would have to go back to the.
so that would be a different amount anyway, instead of the 22,394 or whatever that was.
Mhm.
It'd be something higher. Put that in, and then take out the specialist, and then have the full-time position, and so that all we have to do is cut one of those two. And then I guess you would have to put in the different benefits or whatever as a, we either have those or cut those as well, but it's just a matter of cutting one or cutting the other.
We just see who's in favor of it or not, before we have to go back to the commissioners and request the part-time person that is very potentially gonna be gone. She'd have to go back and make that request if she's gonna put it in her budget as a part-time person with a higher classification. Because she didn't request that, she
Right.
requested it full-time.
It's a handful.
so it's currently a COMOC 2 is what she is now.
She's in coma too now.
And
So
should
we-
be a PAT 2 or a PAT 3.
The new position is at PAT 3. But if they don't get the new position, they need to move it from COMOC 2 to PAT 3.
So, I mean, technically, it's just a hand vote tonight, either way, right? We're not really voting, we're not approving anything, or, so, I mean, do we feel that we want to make a hand, take a hand vote for that.
I've got my mind made up what I would vote for, so.
Any other comments?
I mean, I'd give them some direction so they know which way to proceed. It's a long process, either way. I'll do it.
Okay. I'm in favor of the hand vote, so, okay, well, let's say all in favor. Let's do it this way, let's see, of the full-time position, let's see if, who's in favor of the full-time position. So, we got that 5-2, so let's just fill it out then with the full-time position.
Appreciate it.
And then we'll eliminate the other two at this time.
Okay, so do we need to go back to the commissioners then to request that they eliminate the other two, or just?
I would wait until after budget stuff, because you got time for that.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Because they can still change their mind up until
Right.
budget's approved.
Right, sure, I understand that. Okay, thank you, thanks.
Okay, next on the agenda here is Purdue Extension. Can you come up and introduce yourself?
You guys just have all kinds of changes going on. It's fun.
Oh.
Exciting.
I think they want to speak to us.
Oh.
Yeah, hi, we're not actually, our names aren't listed on the agenda, but I'm Chelsea Brewer, I'm the County Extension Director at Purdue Extension, and this is,
I'm Lisa Wilson, 4-H Youth Development.
and.
And I'm the new area director for Purdue Extension, which brings a part that we get to hire an extra person for our office. In addition to being the area director, I will still be the 4-H youth development educator in Du Bois County, but Purdue is allowing us to hire an additional 4-H youth development educator, which is really exciting for our program because we have such a large 4-H program that it's going to be great to have 2 people working on it. So while some of my time will be spent doing area director roles, it mostly means I'll be just putting in more time for free probably. We all know how that goes, right? So that brings us to, do you want to?
Sure.
Okay.
With that, we are asking for an appropriation for an additional room. There's a vacant room in our building where we could move into having a conference room and allowing us to create another office in what is now our conference room / break room. We are asking for an additional appropriation this year, and then we would add that into our budget for next year if you approve. The total for this year would be $1,925. That's $275 per month.
We're already kind of busting at the seams at our office without adding another person. We have boxes sitting everywhere and filing cabinets out in hallways, and it's almost to the point that it's really not safe.
Right.
Yeah.
We're getting creative even with this ask, really honestly. This is probably a temporary fix at the most.
I guess I got a couple of questions.
Sure.
I guess the landlord there, I mean, who determines that? Does Purdue help you set that, or the commissioners?
Set what?
The rent rate?
The landlord, Lee, gives us the rent that he's charging for the space, so. It hasn't changed in, I mean, I don't even know how many years. I've only been here for about 2 years. But as I've heard, and I haven't looked back really far, but I've looked back several years and it hasn't changed in a really long time. So, which it shouldn't because we've got bugs and whatnot, but. The other day, I was sitting in there having a meeting with the state 4-H, like the head of all of Indiana 4-H, and a centipede crawled across his shoes.
You are in the basement.
We are in the basement, and it happens a lot. And I was like, "Oh, just step on it. It ain't harm." And then he looks over and he's like, "Yeah, I see a couple of dead ones." I was like, "Yeah, I know."
Before you came, sorry.
So it would be nice to have less boxes sitting around, is what we're saying. It'd be better to have things up off the floor and whatnot, as well as having more space in our offices.
This reconfiguration would also allow us to have a meeting space, which we don't currently have because we have boxes on our table, you know, we kind of have to shove it to the side to even eat lunch because we don't really have a space, so it's kind of inconvenient to always invite ourselves to other people's businesses to have a meeting.
Yeah.
But that's unfortunately what we have to do, or we have to take advantage of a free resource, which there are some in the community, but it would just be nice to be able to have people in our space sometimes. You know, we don't have to take work time to pack up all of our stuff to go to a meeting. We can just jump down the hall and we're there.
So this is just another office type?
It's another room, yeah. It's about what, a third the size of this
So it's
building?
currently not being used right now?
It's not being used.
Been used?
There was somebody else in there, what, about a year ago maybe? You were there,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Maybe two.
probably about a year ago. Vacated the space and it's just sitting empty.
And you've negotiated and gotten the best
Yes.
price you could.
Yes. We've talked to him probably 3 or 4 times.
Who is this?
Lee Kaufman?
It is a handwritten in pencil
Yeah.
lease.
Yes.
Yeah, on loose piece of paper.
This is a sticky note.
Very fancy.
But I truly, it's a hazard out there. It's not safe, and I think it's probably a fire hazard.
We don't talk about that. We'll have somebody in there telling us to have another space.
Now, during the fair, you guys do move out to the fairgrounds, correct? Or you will have a space out there?
We have like a makeshift workstation.
Yeah.
And I guess on another subject, you know, I think was at the commissioners meeting, you spoke about that Purdue is funding another part-time position. Can you kind of brief us on that?
Yeah, so we'll be adding another educator to our staff, so instead of 3, we'll have 4. Purdue is funding most of that. Our contractual services, you will notice, will go up just a little bit, but not the amount that it would for a full educator. And we will be getting way more services out of that, so.
Thanks.
And because they're adding some money because of all
They're
the
adding-
services you're.
They're adding someone because I'm taking on the area director role, but when you work out the percentages, we're really getting, we'll have more educator time. Does that make sense?
How big is your area then?
11 counties. Area 3 is 11 counties. Yeah. We already work together as an area as educators because obviously it's better if we all pool our resources and work together. Like, you know, we have a Spark Club up at Coca Lake on Wednesday, and that's with 3 different counties. We work together to make things happen. So it's not, I mean, I already work with all of these. It's just that I'm taking a little more of an administrative role with that.
We're very excited.
Yeah.
She's the model, the new model. She just has to get all out.
It'll actually, I think it'll really work out well for our county, because our county is seen as a leader in our area already. And so that, this progresses that some. And then also with me working with educators from other counties a lot more, I see some new ideas to bring back and new ways to kind of throw ourselves forward as a county. So.
Excited about the Hootos program.
We are super excited about the Hootos program. We have gotten over $20,000 of grants from different places in our community to run that. So we will be hiring someone on grant money as well to run the Hootos program. So
We're gonna sit at the
we're gonna have
conference
all these people. I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be really awesome. And I've already been alerted of some other resources that might be coming to our county just because we've jumped on the bandwagon. Not on the bandwagon, but on the forefront really of Juntos. So.
And they may not know what Hootos is.
So Juntos is a program that it means together. We're starting at the Southwest Du Bois schools, and we will be bringing on Latino families, 8th grade youth. And the goal is to, there's 4 different parts to it. The first part is there's a 6-week program with the families. They get dinner and all of that, and we teach them about, 1, the goal is to graduate high school. 2, the goal is to do some sort of higher education, whether that is trade school, college, any 2-year degree, whatever that might be.
just to further their skills after high school and then to help them find a job within our community, to help them find the funding so they don't go to school just 1 year and then. So that will be our first cohort, is about 15. The second year, we'll pull in another cohort while that those families, and year after year will grow. Our hope is to bring it to Jasper schools as funding continues to grow for them.
So the conference room will double as storage/office space. Wherever this other person goes. It won't be a conference room anymore.
Well, we're trying, we have drawn out probably 15 different options. Every morning we come in and we're like, oh, I got a different idea, we could try this.
Oh, it's falling asleep, it's popped in my head.
Yeah, I know. So, we're gonna try one configuration with it and see how it works, and then, you know, we're not opposed to moving furniture, we've done it before, right? Well, see.
So maintenance today, does a landlord come and help you guys with any type of?
Oh, no, he doesn't even pull weeds. He did vacuum for us when we asked him to vacuum. Yes, and mopping only happens once a year because that's all that needs to be done. So we do a lot of the cleaning ourselves. So we put in a request to move into this wonderful space if it gets vacated. We're waiting because it would be a better space. Talk to the commissioners. Would you be interested? Yes, we would. We would like to have a window.
Oh goodness, yes.
No, we're not. Daylight. Tonight we both walked out of the office and I was like, you know what? Everybody's been complaining about how hot it is. It actually is kind of nice. The sun feels.
Okay, any other discussion or questions? Okay, so the only thing we're gonna be, approving is the appropriation for the additional rent of $1,925. So if that's, I mean, the only discussion I wanna say, or, you know, I think Craig and I we were wanting to come out to visit, like the other week, I think I left a message and we were gonna visit Soil and Water and Purdue Extension, but I think, you know, they had masks and we couldn't get in Soil and Water.
You can come in our office, we are wide open. Come on in anytime.
I will tell you, we
Everyone
are
else shows up
unexpected.
unexpected, so you just come on in.
July 6th, we're moving to the fairgrounds, so.
Yeah,
So,
so our temporary home for a week and a half.
So don't show up then.
But just so I think our only concern was, you know, that you're getting, you know, a fair amount of space for a fair amount of rent, you know, as far as the county's, you know, spending the money.
I know a couple years ago when Jan was the county extension director here, they had explored several other options to get us out into a different place and they couldn't find anything comparable. I know there were several different things explored probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and we ended up staying where we were because it was the best.
Rent is
Rent.
terribly expensive.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing.
However, if you
Pardon me?
feel that there's a better place.
Yeah, if you
No.
find something better, we will go. Yeah,
We're not.
we're not tied to that basement. I don't know. Kelsey and I are not afraid of change.
Yes, I'll bring my dumpster.
So if there's no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve that annual rent of $1,925 and approve the appropriation.
So this will start in July, the
Yes.
rent. Sorry to interrupt, Jim.
Alex has made a motion. Is there a second? Sonia seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for taking the time to come in and explain it.
We appreciate it, thank you. Enjoy your evening.
Yes,
Thank you.
And Chelsea too.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
Chelsea. We're like a dynamic people.
Oh my goodness, it happened so quick. You started it and all of a sudden you're the director.
Yeah, that's great. Welcome. It's crazy.
She's fine, she's got me.
Yeah, right. I know, I'm not always over there.
Dennis, you ready to my mailbox? It's the payroll. stuff.
Got it.
Thank you.
I figured I was coming here anyway, might as well just
Yeah,
drop
do.
it.
Okay.
That was for the chicken. That was great.
appropriation, so. I don't know, the next one here, the commissioner's operating plat books, is that next on the agenda?
That's me. Every, so many years, we order the plat books, people come in and buy them from the public. I think they're $20 or $25. We are out of them, we've been out of them for probably a year and a half. With COVID last year, nobody would even look at coming to redo them. We have a company that will come in now and we'll get them ready, probably, hopefully by the end of this year. We just have to pay for them up front and then we get all the money back as we sell them. So I need $5,000 to pay for it.
So any questions of Sandy on that, or?
And as we sell them, the money that we collect goes back into the general fund, so. And we usually get to sell them for more than what we purchased them for, so,
A little bit of a profit.
well, the county gives the profit. But we've had several people come in and ask us, do you have them yet? Do you have them yet? Do you have them yet?
I'll make that motion that we pay the 5,000 for the plat books.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
And I don't think it's exactly 5, it's 4 something, but you know.
All right, no, two.
Okay, next thing,
The health department has their current immunization and vaccine grant that will be expiring June 30th. They've got another grant that's taking its place. It's a supplemental 3. So it's pretty much going to mimic the same exact thing that they've done before. This grant, I think, goes through June 30th of 2022, but Sean's been told that it could be extended for a year or so after that. But I'm just here for, though it started now and it's going to go through June 30th. I didn't total it all the way up. I've got it split out into 4 categories. The personal services, $54,134.06. Supplies, $14,843.21. Other services, $15,716.34. Capital outlay, $2,619.39. And then what they'll do when we approve that is they'll mimic the clinic nurse. Temporary clinic nurses will make $20 per hour. Temporary clinic administrative clerks, $15 an hour. PRN nurses, $22.33 an hour. And then any health department comp time will be paid at their current rate of pay, like we have currently been doing. I think this is the 3rd grant with the same setup.
so can we approve that, or approve that additional appropriation as a lump sum?
87,313.
That sounds right.
So again, you paid that.
87,313. $87,313.
Came out even?
Yeah.
It does.
Okay, so if we can do it as one, have any discussion on that? Any questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Charmaine approved. And any, a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Becky seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the 87,313 is approved. Next one I have here is the ARP.
I have the salary ordinance yet.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It was the $20 for the 2015, 22, 33 and the comp time.
Yes, it's exactly the same thing as the other immunization grant and the Moderna grant. We're kind of keeping them all exactly the same.
And are they staying as busy as? I hadn't heard.
I think at the commissioner meeting last week, he said maybe 100 shots per week average. I don't know. And the test site clinic, I think they're gonna extend that grant as well, so.
One of the Rosa Code, the old Rosa Code.
And it's gonna be on a month by month because it is for sale, and if City of Jasper sells it, then we'd have to vacate.
approve the salary orders, may I have a second? May I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Charmaine seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so next thing, the agenda here is the ARP coronavirus local fiscal recovery.
Remember last month I brought you 8.2 million something and we really get 8.3 million and this is the difference. So we have the total amount appropriated now, if you approve this one.
Okay, and that is,
$12,583.
additional, I'm sorry, yeah. Does that make sense to everyone, or does anybody have a question? Okay, otherwise I'll entertain a motion to approve that $12,583.
I'll make that motion, Mike.
Okay, Craig made the motion, may I have a second?
I'll second it.
Alex seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that carries.
That committee is meeting. We haven't spent anything yet, but we are meeting on it, so.
You still getting ideas in?
That's what we're doing. We've contacted, internet providers, PSC,
Full net.
FullNet, and had conversations with them, and nobody can do anything. But they said they would, meet on the table with us and put a project together, so. We don't know what we're going with that just yet, so it's
We, and my office has been tasked with trying to find the revenue replacement, and Mary's been researching a lot of that. We have reached out to Baker Tilly. We're reaching out to Barnes and Thornburg to see if maybe they can even help us be a consultant along the way. It's a pretty big animal.
Yeah.
But we want to get all the dollars we are entitled to, but we don't want to take more than we should. In the event we'd have to pay it back. So.
Okay. So, that's good. I mean, I think, have you had any luck with that, or have you had anyone come back, Baker Tilly or anyone?
Baker Tilly's willing, and they'll send me a letter of engagement if I'm so choose what I need to have done. They've answered us back. I think Elmer is contacting Barnes and Thornburg. I haven't spoke to him since, if he's contacted them. He also reached out to Greg to see if Greg, as county attorney, and I don't know the answer with that either,
Okay,
so.
well, thanks. Okay, next on that I have here is a solid waste sticker collection, so are they gonna start using stickers again then, or is that what that?
No, the driver that works for the solid waste district has been out on family medical leave.
Oh, okay.
So the highway has been covering, and they want to make it the right fund, pay the right for the driver. So this is a reimbursement to reimburse the highway for the funds that they're spending and not getting service as far. So that's what this 20,000 is.
Is there any questions on that?
We're reimbursing the highway.
The highway
Solid waste?
sanitation is reimbursing the highway for their services.
Okay.
Because he's getting paid out of highway, but he's doing sanitation work.
Correct. So they keep, because of their 50-50 rule and all that, they have to keep, they don't want to expand and not get the service far.
Yep.
So this keeps that straight.
And that's $20,000, so I'll entertain a motion to accept that transfer of $20,000.
I move we approve the transfer, or not,
It's an additional.
it's an additional appropriation.
I'll second that, Mike.
Second, Becky seconded, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So that additional appropriation carries.
So what line item does that come out of?
There is a highway reimbursement line item in this sticker
Okay.
fund.
Okay. Just wanted to get that straight in my head.
Yeah. Well, they will kind of, I think the driver for the sanitation department, or the sticker money, gets paid less. So they didn't want to move somebody over into that position and take a cut in pay, because then the guys wouldn't do it.
Yes.
If they do a reimbursement, they get their same pay, so.
Okay. That makes sense.
Anybody see these dumpsters at Iron?
Yeah.
I saw the pictures on
Very
Facebook.
nice,
Yeah.
very nice.
Baby Yoda and Baby Groot are my favorite.
Oh,
I love that
yeah.
for the record.
Oh, I thought that was still wrong. Oh, that's not about, all right, good.
So with the park and recreation
Um,
transfer,
The full-time position has been vacant, and he's been accruing quite a bit of comp time. Bob's out there alone. They did hire a part-timer. I think that person just started, but we've got the comp time in the negative, or right close to the negative. I think it was like $70-some or something, so we need to add on more to get it. I forget what he had, it or $70-some, I think. And so we need to do an additional, or a transfer from that full-time line item that's not gonna be used to move it into comp time to pay Bob for his extra hours during this time of no help.
He was putting in a lot of comp time before.
Yes, he was, and that's why they did start with a part-timer. They have a full year part-timer that's supposed to help with that as well, and that person, I think, did start.
Because, you know, when they make those improvements out there, it's gonna add to his or somebody's time. And
Well, that's under advisement.
Yeah.
The bids came in,
oh, really? Okay, well,
Only one bid, wasn't it?
they had one bid, and it came in at $1 million.
Then they'll hire them when they reject it.
So it's under advisement, I don't know what they're gonna do, so.
that amount, Sandy, I didn't catch that amount.
$4,485.27. And what we did was we took the difference of what the full-time person quit getting up until this point,
4,400.
$85.27.
Thank you.
That's how I came up with a wonky number.
Okay, so there's no questions or discussions, I think, entertain a motion to approve that transfer.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, that went through the motion to approve that. I mean, oh, I'm sorry, and is there a second?
I'll second.
Alex, a second. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And transfer carries.
every time I write EU, I always think of Ducks Unlimited. It's the first thing that pops into my head, so when I look over my notes, I'm like, what?
That's unlimited.
They have some nice paintings.
Charmaine, you wanted me to bring up the wage range?
Oh, yes. I just wrote it on my agenda, so I wouldn't forget. Okay, Sandy called me earlier today. The assessor's office was preparing their budget and learned that after adding the 3% increase for their first deputy, that it was a few cents outside the range, outside the top of the range. So Sandy called me to investigate. So I went back and looked, and sure enough, in all of the offices, or all the offices that have a Comont 3 first deputy, we must have made an error on the top of the range by 3 cents. It's 3 cents lower than what it's been all this time. So I guess we either need to decide, do we not allow that position, those positions, the first deputies, to knock them down 3 cents per hour, or fix the error?
I would think it would just be a correction in the error that we made, just change the 3 cents, make it correct.
That's what I
Because
thought.
otherwise, we've been overpaying them.
Right.
Not by the salary ordinance, by the wage scale.
By the wage scale for probably 3 years since we instituted that in 2018. So yeah, I can correct that error.
Sounds good. Thanks for catching
Thanks, Angie.
it. Sandy?
I didn't catch it. I just called. I guess the thing is though, if you do correct it, we may need to send it out because people may not have even realized it.
Yeah, I'll fix it tonight and get it to you.
Where is that showing on this? Is it first?
It's the Comot 3.
And it's the assessor.
It's the first deputies for each of
All
them.
of,
the
all the
first
Coma threes first.
Yeah, because, what was it?
2229 was last year and it should have been 2232.
Right, what they're getting paid now should.
And this-
Paid 1332, but the top of the range is 2229. It's 3 cents lower.
Yeah, can you send out all that stuff just after you?
And for the new 22 budget, 3% would be 2299 and we have 96, I
Yes.
think is correct.
So that's
Deb, what did you say?
It just send it. I don't have it with me right now.
Yeah, I'll send it all out. I'll send it to everybody when I fix it. Yeah, my actual copy that I made my notes on, it's sitting by my stove. The kids packed the car for me. They didn't know about my notes.
I put on your agenda to prepare the budgets that you guys normally work on or submit. Because I prepare all that stuff for you. So I just need a little guidance on what you want on them or how you want them prepared. Because remember, I will not be here at the next meeting, so I'll have Brooke and Mary here.
You talking about for us? You mean the.
Your council budget,
These four.
I assume you guys are all gonna take the 3% increase. If you wanted anything else changed in your budget, the lit budget, the cum cap budget, if you had any suggestions or changes or those, or I will kind of prepare them and have them for August. I just didn't want to miss something if you wanted it in there.
Whenever we do like the AIC meetings, what line item do you pay that out of?
Training,
Do we have, it's the,
travel, training, mileage, it's under mileage,
It's
that's
mileage,
travel and
okay.
training.
Okay.
It's in the book is mileage, but it's really travel and training.
so it's all in there, I'm just
Yeah.
curious about that.
That does remind me, Saturday was your state called meeting, and Jackie Clemens told me if I signed up, I could get it electronic for it, and then you guys could all watch it if you so chose. So I did sign up for it on Friday, so I paid for it out of that line item.
Okay, thank you.
Even though you'll see my name on it, I did it for y'all to get it. She said if we're registered, we can get a copy of it electronically.
Okay.
So that's why I did it on Friday.
Appreciate that.
In the budget book, the council's is on page 11.
Anybody got any comments on the council's budget? As far as the salaries are 3%, wasn't even in there, 3% in. We probably have to use the travel and training under too much this year.
Well, it's hard to say because last year hardly anybody used travel and training. And I don't know if you guys are gonna go to the AAC conference this fall, or if you're gonna go, it's still there.
Questions of the council budget?
I would just say keep it, I would just say keep the travel and stuff the same,
Just leave it the same.
because, maybe some people need to, but then include the 3% salary.
So it seems like we're gonna keep add the 3% to the salaries.
The edit budget is on page 27. I think when we do our budgets, we will include all those things that we normally move. If we have to, we'll put those back and play that game.
Okay.
With the pauper council and the jury, all in the, like we normally do, we'll prepare them those ways.
Hey, that's what's been missing this year. We haven't had any additionals for that. We did last year either, right? Because we didn't have any trials.
Exactly. They are doing them now, though.
But I was gonna say, that's.
See, I think they had one today.
Well, my thought is that's gonna really go up now that they're like catching up.
They're
on what
catching up,
they
yes.
didn't do.
Cum Cap is on page 32. We'll just kind of prepare them the way we have in the past and go from there.
I'm just looking over what was in there last year, that job descriptions project. Do you know that's on?
He's still in the process of that. I know that. He's been working on it. We've been working on the handbook. We're getting close to finalizing that. I think this week and next week's our last meetings on getting through all those chapters. And then it'll go to the commissioners for their approval. I don't know exactly where they are. I know he said something about they got halted for the job descriptions, but I don't know where they're at, that Marquise. And that, I don't know of anything big off the top of my head that people are gonna need. Computers are always a big thing. That may be but we're having a hard time replacing computers right now.
Okay, on the CR lit money, are we gonna appropriate everything just as the project construction? Or I just wanna be devil's advocate, do we need to write another line item in there for something if we wanna use any of those funds? For
That, those numbers should come out in July, hopefully early July, so that I can plug them in. If you want me to put some salaries, or if you want me to put something else, no.
Could we have one for rehabilitative services and sort of, or does it have to be more?
I can put whatever you want. It's just what are we gonna do and how are we gonna pay for it out of there, As long as we have enough to cover the bond payments.
I think there's gonna be extras.
There should be extras in there.
It's gonna be more than we thought it's going to. It is right now.
I think we need to
We would,
put some line items in.
Yeah.
Because
It's not this
eventually,
year,
like,
the following year,
yeah.
because that's when,
Right, project construction is now, but then we'll eventually have to put a line item in there for bond payments, right?
Right now, we've got that 9.6 million that came from the bond proceeds that we're using for construction. The actual bond payments are interest only until 24, and that should be covered until 24,
Can we
Old
pay that
National
out of-
Well. So,
Do we pay that out of the project construction? Do we need to have a line item?
well, we're gonna pay the 9.6 million down first, and then we move into this fund.
Okay.
For construction costs.
Okay.
Until we start using the bond proceeds. They are moving dirt up there, so.
I'll make it a little bit harder. Let's go through this budget first.
yeah,
I mean, as far as I'm making, I had made a note here on the alcohol and drug user fees. I think you said we may run short this year
Well,
at one time.
the drug court director, Mike Denyer, has resigned his position. He is now employed by Megan in community corrections as an officer until the end of the year. So that position, they're not gonna fill. The administrative assistant is still working there. They're not taking on any new clients. They're finishing out the old clients. Adam and the administrative assistant Jody is working through that. But Adam is funded through community corrections, so the only person on staff with that is Jody. So they're gonna get rid of the A&D program.
Okay.
Is that something by the end of the year or?
I don't really know by the end of the year because they have money, so they're gonna dwindle out that money, and then I don't know, I mean, Judge McConnell did come to speak to the commissioners, but
I think he thought it'd be like the money that they have, kind of parallel.
Right.
The person that's
because I think community corrections has the same kind of services, so they're kind of taking over
They're
that.
duplicating it.
That's what I was wondering, was it find that it was ineffective or was
The
it?
A&D program has been sort of, just took so long to get assessments on people. You know, everybody was waiting, and it just seemed outdated.
Now, this year, they did collect quite a bit of money that was in arrear, people weren't paying, and they did collect quite a bit. They could have probably had enough to get them through the year, so, I mean, it was close.
And the other thing I wanted to bring up is this, during the commissioners meeting, the adult protective services that are.
Yeah, that's something we need to add.
And he.
They are gonna add that into their budget. I think he was down to only needing 5,000,
Oh, great.
so,
4,500, and I think the commissioners kind of, I thought they made a little motion that sort of doesn't exceed 5,000.
right,
For the council.
so
So he probably,
So he must have gotten some money from,
they did get some,
I think state was gonna pay some different things.
but he did come and speak to them, so he wasn't quite as dire need as he was when he was here, but, so they're gonna add it.
Hopefully the advocating is.
so we can't exceed, evidently we can't exceed 5,000 as far as the commissioners are concerned. So.
Well, it's in their budget, so they'll put it in there,
Put it
so.
in, okay. Questions I had on the budget there?
Currently, I don't have what we're gonna have to pay LifeSpring, but that's set by statute. They're hoping that number comes out in early July, so.
Do we know if there's gonna be an ambulance next year? I don't remember.
I don't know, Ryan, the new
Right. 'cause-
coordinator, has been, I actually saw him this morning. He's working on getting that prepared, and he's gonna come to the commissioner meeting on Tuesday, so. He's really struggling with how to do the subsidy and how it was figured in the past, and some years they make more, some years we make more, and he's trying to come up with a way of,
Yeah. That's always.
he's really,
straightforward.
Yeah.
he wants to come up with a way of settling up, they're short, they're long, he's working on that. And I told him this is gonna be a year of fresh and new, and we gotta get,
It's good.
so.
So anyway, a little update on the jail. It seems like it's going well. When we first had the first meeting, I think there's quite a few people that attended the progress meeting and started that rainy period and then now it's the dry period. But they technically are doing a lot of site work grading. Utility lines are being relocated or new, gas and some of the other lines. The building pad, the actual building pad for the pod is pretty well up to grade, and I think they were gonna bring it's probably the grade now, but they're gonna drive these aggregate piers down through each foundation, at the foundation columns. So they're doing that this week, and then they poured the tower foundation, I think Monday, or last Friday, I'm sorry. So I think it's going well. I mean, it's what, everybody's attending, everybody participates, with the contractors. So, it seems like it's kind of right on schedule. The big thing as far as the outline of the thing is the schedule is this pre-engineered steel is probably late October right now, so that's gonna kind of put them in a bind to get that thing under roof and everything by winter. And, the ordering of the geopod, the actual cells. So, that's what they're concerned, but they're trying to do everything they can to, expedite that. It's going well.
I know when they are gonna move the tower, the one building is hooked to the phone system through the tower, so we're gonna have to do something with our phone system, so we may be coming for money to get them all onto our phone system.
I think they were talking, that could be, to get it temporarily, just to run a conduit over there.
Well,
Rehook it back up.
I think they've kind of changed some of that. Matrix said, rather than going out and wiring it and then rewiring it and then wiring it again, if they take the phone system like we have, you put the wiring in and you just take the phone and it'll transfer. Like my phone, I could bring it over here and it'll ring it right here for me. So they're trying to do some of that work to not have to do it 3 and 4 times, just do it once and be done.
Even the tower foundation, has to sit for 30 days for the concrete to cure, so, we have some. So,
Right.
And then the other thing, I think we discussed kind of the part, sure that's a disappointment to them with the bid king and that, so. And then I think you sent everyone, Sandy, the audit, state.
The audit's here. The auditors are here. Well, auditor right now. The second one and third one could be joining later this week or next week, but excited to have them here and get moving.
I'm sure you'll pass with flying colors.
Oh, I enjoy having them here. I mean,
It's a good question.
learn, go, and grow,
The commissioner, which is the commissioner decision, I think Monday, the commissioners decided to join that Ready Grant program. They joined with the ROI, or they put a letter.
Yeah,
of
they-
intent with ROI.
They passed a resolution to join the ROI.
Okay.
So we're ready for
And I
that.
think after a lot of discussion, I think that's what they thought, and I think the 2 mayors were for that also, to join that same group, instead of splitting the county up. So I think it's-
The bicycle and pedestrian grant's also moving along, so I went to a meeting on that where they had a public hearing to mark roadways and trailways and that all over the county, so it was interesting. I hadn't been part of it, but it was very interesting.
Anyone else bring anything up, or? Otherwise, next meeting is July 26th, 4:30.
I will not be here, like I said. I have Brooke and Mary scheduled to be here, so I will try to call in, hopefully. If I have
Okay, well, thanks. So, otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for the meeting. For me,
I better write that down.
we have a second.
Who seconded?
Is there a second?
I'll
second it.
Somebody please second.
Doug did.
You did, Doug?
So, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thanks, everyone.
See my children,